Kipya, Machakos, Bomet, Kiambu, Nakuru, Wajir, Homa Bay, Makueni, Garissa, Busia, Kwale, and Kirinyaga. We are expecting the rest to still be coming because we had actually given them a deadline of this coming week. But now, with these meetings, we have asked them to make it a bit fast. In the plans that they have submitted, Your Excellency, they include urgent evacuation protocols for communities located in high-risk areas. Every county governor who's here have their own plans with the same. They have mapped out their hotspots. They have come up with plans for relocation. They have also made plans for immediate provision of essential life-sustaining resources such as food, water, and shelter. They have proposed a swift and resilient restoration of critical infrastructure, how they will address that as counties, including improvement of soil and water management and conservation. And they have also looked at the issue of robust disease prevention and control mechanism. That has also been mentioned by the previous speakers. They have also put in measures, mechanisms to start clearing of drainages. I think this has already been ongoing in very many of the counties. They have also put in measurements for improvement of road infrastructure and crop storage management. The seamless synergy between the county governments and national governments and humanitarian organizations will therefore be a springboard for rapid and effective crisis response. Your Excellency, these counties have also done a quick estimation of the amount of resources that will be requiring to deal with this matter. And out of the 23 counties that we have, we already have an estimation of about 8 billion shillings. You can imagine by the time the others come, we'll probably be at 15 billion shillings that will be required to fund these El Nino preparedness and response activities. Your Excellency, alarmingly, we only, as county governments in our emergency funds, have only 1 billion shillings. So you can see this is a drop in the ocean compared to what it is. Your Excellency, the issue of resources is very important, and that's why I posed, just so that I can get your attention. We have estimated about, we have about 1 billion, 1.036701, thereabouts. And then we are expecting about a budget from the counties, if this El Nino goes the way it is, of about 15 billion shillings. And the essential resources are required for food supplies, water storage, stormwater management, medical supplies, fuel reserves, evacuations, etc. So, Your Excellency, as we conclude, as I conclude, I just would like to make a suggestion. One is we could start with maybe requesting the National Treasury to release the resources that are pending for the county governments to be able to put the emergency funds in place. I think we have a little of August money about for 4 counties, and then in September, we have a lot of the counties, only about 6 or 7 have received their money for September, so about 35.24 billion. That would go a long way for them. Your Excellency, maybe let me make a suggestion where I think you can get the resources for this emergency fund. In the World Bank, there is money for emergency that is usually given to countries when you're facing a situation like this, and it does not require a very lengthy process. We have done it before, I think in 2018, and it's like a drawback insurance. So we don't have to wait until the disaster happens and then go and ask for the resources. The resources available to Kenya is about $250 million. And that translates to about 35 billion shillings, and it's given as an emergency drawback. All you would need, Your Excellency, is quick cabinet approval, a letter from the AG, and the National Treasury can draw the money even as soon as next week. So then maybe when you raise the resources from the public, you can always refund what you are able to the National Treasury Kitty. What you don't spend, the country can decide what to do. I thought to make that suggestion because many of us come and just say these are the requirements. We have given our requirements will probably be about 15 billion, but instead of us waiting, Your Excellency, you may be able to draw that facility. It was done in 2018, and I think at the time in government, people like P.S. Singa were the ones coordinating the emergency and were supporting the emergency from the back end, so they can advise also on how the government can be able to reach out and get the resources. Your Excellency, also with my past experience, I think like for the cleaning of Nairobi River, and I whispered that to you even before it was mentioned, that you will probably be able to do very fairly easily with the National Youth Service. They have the machines, I believe many of them lying idle right now, and maybe then you can get the supplementary support from the Waziri Defense, because they actually sometimes get involved in engineering interventions. Your Excellency, these budgets that we have put may look very high, but if I could just give you an example of one of the interventions that is required in Kirinyaga. Between Ragati River and Sagana River, where they meet, we have already been warned that the river will burst its banks and probably flood all the way to the highway and probably even submerge our new industrial park. We've called the national government people from the Ministry of Water, Alice Wahome's team, and they've come and made an assessment that for us to build a dike would cost about 250 million shillings. For us, we've already started moving people.
In terms of what we have done, we have dealt with the emergency area and we distributed food to 200,000 people across the country, or 200,000 households, which is almost 1 million people, reaching 32 counties who have benefited. Some of the governors who are here will associate with the work that we have done. Of course, we've done it in consultation and in collaboration with a number of stakeholders, including the Red Cross and also the NDMA and also the Ministry of ASAL. Because most of the areas that were affected were ASAL areas. We have now pivoted into the area of water management and infrastructure through this partnership with the KDF and the Ministry of Defense, assessed about 500 boreholes, prioritized 360 boreholes across the country, which need repairs, some of them very minor repairs, but also others some significant repairs. We are continuing now we are commencing the work, or at least have started to commence the work, and given El Nino, we'll prioritize those areas that are low risk, El Nino counties, but also ensure that we complete them as quickly as possible in anticipation of what impact El Nino will have. We've also started to do the work with the KWS in the national parks. We'll be sinking about 10 boreholes to support the Kenya Wildlife Service, which were affected during the drought, including tanks in the Savo ecosystem. We are inviting partnerships. We are collaborating with Millennium Water Alliance and also USAID, who have been very, very gracious to adopt some of the boreholes. They have agreed to adopt 78 boreholes, which is very significant. In Garissa, in Wajir, Turkana, Isiolo, and Marsabit counties. We will be encouraging others to come in and adopt boreholes because we have a framework that works, in addition to the work that we've already done. We've also started to receive support from others, including the government of Brazil, who have donated $100,000 in the form of tanks and water storage, which will work with schools to see if we can be able to deliver that through and working together with the World Food Program.
And former IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati has said that he won't appear before the National Dialogue Committee after the team invited him, terming issues on the 2022 general elections on a case closed. In a statement of former Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission chairperson IEBC Wafula Chebukati has said that he won't appear before the National Dialogue Committee after the team invited him, terming issues on the 2022 general election as a case closed. In a statement on Thursday, the former IEBC chair affirmed that appearing before the committee will be a tantamount to betraying the IEBC staff who were torched and murdered during the election period. The committee, co-chaired by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, was formed to break the political impasse between Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. Let's listen in.
You create the possibility that confidence in that institution can be eroded. And I don't think that that would give us, in going forward, it would create a permanent state of electoral instability, because no matter who would win or lose, no matter what the Supreme Court would say, that party would say, we know. In fact, in that year, the Supreme Court said this, but when we did a further forensic audit, the forensic audit produced a different outcome. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the work of the Supreme Court is not to declare that the election was conducted without a hitch. That is not the standard. It is not to find whether there was any hitch. In fact, since I started participating in these elections in 2013, before the Supreme Court, 10 years ago, the Supreme Court has always said there was a hitch. There was a hitch. But the standard of the law is, was there a hitch of such a substantial nature that it affected the outcome of the election? And in 4 of the cases I participated in, the answer was no. In one, the Supreme Court said, yes, this is not good. This is not a hitch. This has gone beyond a hitch. I didn't agree with them then, but I respected that opinion and I obeyed it. And as the Attorney of the Republic, I went back and started arranging for a new election, which we did hold thereafter. One of the problems we have, ladies and gentlemen, in these constitutional timelines that are locked up in the Constitution, it confirms what the philosopher said, that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. When we wrote the Constitution here in Bomas, we thought that putting timelines in which by which the court must determine the dispute, we were making sure that the country would be stable, that a transition would be done quickly. We were wrong. It now turns out, in my experience, that this time is not enough. And this method that we use, this method that is by documents only, by affidavits only, and so on, is not enough. So that's one thing that if we were to reopen that process, that is one area that the experts would probably need to look at, the timelines. In fact, we almost ran into a constitutional crisis in 2017. We dodged a bullet by the sheer love of God, because Parliament had broken up, had prorogued. Parliament had gone home. It couldn't make more law. It couldn't make law to guide us. And the judges had found the night before the election that election officer